You know that feeling, right? You look at your bank account, then you look at your shopping list, and you realize, you just can't have it all. Of course you do. We all do. Well, that simple, everyday frustration, it's actually the starting point for one of the biggest ideas in the world. Today, we're going to dive into that fundamental economic problem, why we simply can't have everything we want.
All right, so let's jump right in with a super simple question. Let's say you've got 500 rupees in your pocket. Right now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to grab that new book you've been eyeing, maybe take a friend to the movies, or, do the responsible thing and save it? That decision, that little moment of choice, that is exactly where our whole story begins today.
Because, you see, that feeling of having to choose, it's not just some random puzzle. That's the core of economics playing out in your life, every single day. The entire economic puzzle, it really does begin right there, with you.
And here's the thing. This problem, it's not just your problem. It's everyone's. That tension you feel between what you want and what you have, that's a universal human experience. In fact, it's so universal that this exact feeling is the official starting point for the entire field of economics.
So this universal problem, it actually has a name. And honestly, it's probably the single most important concept we're going to talk about. At the very heart of the matter is one simple, powerful word: scarcity.
And what is scarcity? Well, at its core, the definition is actually super simple. Scarcity is just the gap between our wants, which, let's be honest, are pretty much unlimited, and our resources, which are, well, not. It's the ultimate mismatch. Think of it like a fundamental imbalance of the universe.
And this visual really just lays it all out, that fundamental conflict. On one side, you've got our unlimited wants. I mean, think about it. You get a new phone, and bam! Suddenly you need the matching headphones. You have an amazing dinner, and what do you want tomorrow? Another one. Our desires just go on and on. But on the other side, we have limited resources. The world simply does not have enough stuff, not enough time, money, or materials to give everyone everything they could ever possibly want.
Now, when economists talk about these limited resources, they usually group them into four main categories. You've got land, that's basically all the natural stuff, oil, water, trees. Then there's labor, that's the human effort, the work people put in. Capital is all the tools we use, like machines and factories. And finally, entrepreneurship. That's the big idea, the risk-taking, that pulls everything else together. And the key thing to remember, all of these are finite. There's only so much to go around.
Okay, so this reality of scarcity, it's not just some boring fact in a textbook. It's a powerful force. It literally pushes every single society, from the smallest village to the biggest nation, to face some really tough choices. In fact, it forces all of us to ask three huge, fundamental questions.
So how does this economic problem actually get created? Well, you can think of it like a perfect storm of three things happening at once. First, we've got those scarce resources. Second, we've got our unlimited human wants. And third, and this is the real kicker, our resources have alternative uses. That one piece of land, it could be a farm or a school or a factory. That hour of your time, you could spend it working, studying, or just relaxing. You can't do it all. You have to choose.
And it's this exact reality that forces everyone, no exceptions, whether you're rich or poor, to make decisions. Every single society has to come up with a way to answer three basic questions about how to use the limited stuff they have.
And here they are, the big three. First, what to produce. Are we going to make more cars or more buses, more weapons or more hospitals? Second, how to produce it. Should we use a ton of machines or rely more on human labor? And third, for whom to produce. Who actually gets to enjoy all the stuff we make? The rich? Should it be split up equally among everyone? Think about it. Every economic system you've ever heard of, whether it's capitalism or socialism, is really just a different way of answering these three questions.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, humanity basically invented an entire field of study to create a toolkit for solving this exact puzzle. And that, right there, is where economics comes into the picture. At the end of the day, it's really just the science of choice.
So what is economics, really? At its heart, it's the study of how all of us, you, me, big companies, even entire governments, make choices. It's all about analyzing how we try to manage the limited resources we have to satisfy as many of our unlimited wants as possible. It's basically the science of making the best decisions you can when you can't have everything.
And we look at these choices on two different levels. First, you've got microeconomics. Think of this as zooming in with a microscope. We're looking at the small-scale stuff, like your personal decision to buy a coffee, or a single company deciding whether to hire someone. Then you've got macroeconomics. This is where we zoom out and use a telescope to see the big picture. We're looking at the entire economy of a country, tackling massive issues like inflation, unemployment, and national growth.
All right, so we've covered some pretty big ideas here. Let's bring it all back home and talk about the final takeaway. Why should you care? Why does understanding this whole puzzle of scarcity and choice actually matter in your life?
Oh, it matters a lot. Seriously, understanding these basics helps you make way smarter decisions in your own life. About your spending, your savings, how you invest your money. It also helps you make sense of what's happening in the news when you hear people talking about things like inflation or taxes. And maybe most importantly, it trains your brain to think more critically, to solve problems by really weighing the costs and the benefits of any choice.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Scarcity is permanent. It is a fundamental feature of our world, and it's not going away. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. Economics is our guide. It's the map we've created as humans to help us navigate this reality as best we can.
So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Your most valuable, your most scarce resource, it isn't your money. It's your time. The economic problem isn't some abstract theory. It's happening to you right now, in this very moment. So, how are you going to choose to spend it?